Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the channel. This is Akram Shaban, and this is our first debut podcast moving forward on this channel and on Lashon's channel right here as well. So I want to introduce you guys to Lashon Bush. Uh, Lashon, I'm happy to have you here on the podcast. This is going to be amazing, and this is our uh, book from now on that we're going to be completing on this debut podcast. So tell the audience out there about yourself, brother.
Akram, thank you, sir. It is both a privilege and an honor to be on the podcast with you and to discuss the nature of XRP and things that we're going to be talking about for our audience. And if you've been in the XRP space for a little while, I think there's a tendency to think that, oh, this is old news. Everybody knows about XRP but in reality, that is far from the case, right? But
Correct.
me myself, I'm from New York City originally. Joined the military, married at the age of 21, right? Three kids, two granddaughters, and retired from the military in 2017. Currently working as a government contractor, right, supporting the Department of War. Um, but definitely somebody who is tech averse, right? Definitely, I fancy myself a cybersecurity guy. Master of Science in Cybersecurity, CISSP. That's a very high level certification in cyber. Pursuing a doctorate in finance and cybersecurity. And the dissertation is involving how to secure transactions on the blockchain across blockchains, mindful of the advancements in emerging technologies like AI, like quantum computing, like nanotechnology. So, you name it, the Internet of Things. So again, first got involved in crypto, I would say probably around 2017 time frame, right? But the wife actually told me to invest in this technology that had been investigating, right? And this is going back a little further back to 2008. So she's telling me, hey, look, I've been doing some research and I think this is going to be pretty big. We should at the time you could take $500 and buy a box that allowed you to mine the crypto. Of course, the crypto
Mhm.
that I'm referring to is Bitcoin, right at the time. But I said, oh, it's not in the budget. We kind of left it alone. Of course, we could have bought Bitcoin in 2011 at 1 cent, right?
Yeah,
And if you had $5, you'd own 500 Bitcoin, right? If you bought it in 2000. And 500 Bitcoin right now would be worth about maybe $60 million, close to, right? $60
correct.
million. So I like to tell that story to people all the time, related to XRP and where we're at currently and how, I guess 5,500 XRP right now is a little more than $5. Um, but we're still at price points that in a few years, I know we'll look back and we'll say, man, we had an
Mhm.
opportunity, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the thing I tell the audience as well. It's not to miss out on this opportunity because we're looking at a financial shift when it comes to this technology as a whole. So when it comes to technology, we're always advancing, we're always moving forward, and if we don't embrace it, we'll be out of the space. So that's something that we need to also. That's why we do this podcast to educate the audience about what is the correct way into this pivoting process, this procedure of pivoting to the new world when it comes to that blockchain technology that we're going to embrace soon. So I want to start off on our first point here. So Ripple Swell happened in New York, 2025, and there's a lot of things happen. All right, and I just want to shed some light to the individuals who were there, with the big, huge individuals. Of course, Brad Garlinghouse himself, CEO of Ripple, can't go wrong with that. Adena Friedman, chair and CEO of Nasdaq. This is kind of pretty big because we're here looking at tokenizing stocks and bonds, meaning a lot of fintech companies and banks are going to utilize blockchain technology using that NASDAQ. So stocks and bonds are going to be tokenized. Maxwell Stein, director of digital assets at BlackRock, also was present. Scott Lucas, head of markets and digital assets at JP Morgan. Cynthia Lowe Bessette, I think that's without butchering her name, head of Fidelity Digital Asset Management. I'm going to name all of them. So, of course, Christian Rao, senior vice president of blockchain digital assets and fintech enablement at Mastercard. Patrick Witt, Senior Policy Advisor, White House, of course. We have David Rippey, CEO of Kraken, Hunter Horsley, CEO of Bitwise, Carlos Domingo. Yeah, and the list goes on. It's insane how many. Also, yeah, well, this one is a big one. Sheila Bair, former chair of the FDIC.
Hmm.
This is big. All right,
Hmm.
so FDIC, of course, when you walk in the
What,
bank,
what could they be
tells
talking
you
about?
absolutely. So, tell me more, Lashon, what you saw though the Ripple Swell event that happened took place.
Oh wow. Ask that question one more time for me, Akram. What are my
So,
thoughts concerning
yes.
Swell? You know what? I have not had a chance to really review this year's Swell and the topics
Mm.
that they're talking about. I did see a few of the topics, but I know that whenever they come together, this is the industry's brightest minds related to cryptocurrency and finance and what is taking place in the space. So as we see the convergence of TradeFi and decentralized finance, it's really interesting to to get a glimpse into the way it's all coming together. And if you were privileged enough to be in attendance, then I'm sure you walked away with amazement at the things that are taking place. We know all about, if you've been in the space, the non-disclosure agreements that Ripple has with hundreds of banks, right?
Correct.
Hundreds of financial institutions. And the railways and that are being made and laid in order to support this network, this robust network, almost like the Amazon network early on. As a matter of fact, I want to say Brad Garlinghouse is even on record as referring to Ripple as the Amazon of finance. Like what Amazon was to to books. Ripple is going to be to finance, right? So Amazon kind of took over, started off in books and took over everything. And that's the expectation that we have for Ripple, this fintech conglomerate, right? That is referred to as an supranational company, right? Meaning it's more than just national. Right? It's a super international company.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. And then that's why like I never looked at the event specifically, but I can go off of what I researched. And when I look at the individuals who showed up, as I mentioned, proving that those companies are adopting those technologies. And my research that I found out, the audience know about this, even on my ex. Proves the research that those individuals are showing up to those events because they know the power in basically they want to put their hands in it. They want a piece of that pie because, like again, as I start as I did the introduction for this podcast, companies need to adopt what needs to be adopted, or they get shut out to space. And actually, Lashon, I think you saw also my the research that I put out, and I think I sent to you of my ex saying that fintech company, and banks had to adopt it because fintech companies are the ones going to be catching up first, and then the banks will just follow up real quickly. Which hence, of course, the government is relying on the companies, the largest companies, instead of the banks, right? So that's why we put the fintech companies up ahead. That's why you see a lot, of course, digital asset manager, directors of, BlackRock, Maxwell Stein, Nasdaq is one of them. Is called, as I said, tokenizing bonds and stocks and bonds, because this is paving the way and catching up what the BRICS are doing. We are here in America. Normally, we're still on research mode, still falling behind when the BRICS are just quickly, building the systems. Also, the White House, senior policy advisor, White House. So, of course, when it comes to blockchain technology and him showing up to a Ripple swell, uh, there's a lot of policies that has to be in place for this country when it comes to blockchain technology. What things you can do, things which you can't do, right? Uh, of course, the FDIC is one of the biggest ones as well here, former chair of FDIC. If you have cryptocurrency in your CBDC account, right? How much does the FDIC can insure you, right? So that all takes place into those conversations. Now, of course, I'm talking about what I've researched and what if those individuals showing up to those conversations, what they said. Of course, they didn't say what I said,
Right.
but the comfort from the research there's from we're going for, that's what they're looking at the project and paving the way for that future, making sure those systems in place are ready once they introduce those cryptocurrencies, especially, of course, the ISO 232. Also, one of the speeches I just saw off of the Brad Garlinghouse saying, and Ripple as well, he said Bitcoin consumes a lot of energy, and it is the truth regarding that. Now, he said about the maximalists, right? That we don't have to go off of basically go fight each other of which cryptocurrency is the one, right? And he was saying that we'll be like in a community where if Bitcoin's doing well, XRP was doing well, and vice versa, right? So in the situation where we're living in right now, when it comes to this technology, we're trying to find a way to coexist together instead of being in competition. Because let's say this is another key when you look at XRP, XLM, Ripple, Stellar, HBAR, those SHX is one of them as well. Flare. When you look at their projects, they're complementing the agenda. They're coexisting together to help each other fill up in the gaps under that Ripple umbrella, if so to speak. Uh, but of course, again, Lashon, if you have anything to add on that, I would likely to have you say it.
No, I appreciate it. And again, this is going to be great because I feel like Akram, we have so much in common in terms of our passion for what is taking place right now. And I definitely want to lend my experience. That I chose this background photo for a reason, right? This
Yes.
background photo, I don't know if you can't see the top of the heads there, but that is me to the far right, right? LaShawn Bush, or better yet known on Twitter and XRP community as LB Hakodesh, right? LB Hakodesh. Been in the Twitter, XRP, pardon me, the X community for a little while. And to the far left, that is Dirk Shepins. That is the owner and founder of Expector, a metaverse that is being built on the XRP ledger. In the middle is Mr. Cool. He goes by Mr. Cool, right? Another XRP influencer and, pretty popular. I want to say Mr. Cool is a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken, right? So,
Yep.
he was heavily involved in terms of shedding light on a lot of the legal proceedings that were taking place involving the SEC and Ripple. During the actual court hearings, or during that time when the SEC brought charges against Ripple, as attempting to pertaining to attempting to sell or offer XRP as an unregulated security to investors, right? Dirk Shepins uh, hosted spaces on Twitter underneath the Expector banner that brought together the whole XRP community, right? Not only the XRP community, but later on, once more blockchain communities started making a pivot towards coming together as opposed to the silos that we have historically seen. He's had a hand in that, and my relationship to Dirk is I once was a heavy investor in Expected, right? I was one of the top 88 holders of I guess the NFTs and the land, right? I was referred to as a Crown Council member, and you can still I guess if you purchase enough of the Expected assets, be involved in what they're building over there. They're doing great things. They're putting together a metaverse. And the only reason I really took attention to it, Akram, was because it was being built on the XRP ledger. I said, this guy knows something right here, right? He knows that the ledger is going to be flooded and price appreciation is going to take place. Now, when the price of XRP goes up, does it automatically mean that the price of the assets that are on the ledger are going to go up? Depends on the value of the assets, right? If it's
Mm.
digital real estate, so that's where the speculation comes in. So I've now, since I've invested, I've kind of pivoted and I'm going in a different direction, a little less risk, right? Leaning towards the more, I guess, reputable assets in the space, ISO 222 compliant. But again, my from my perspective, if it's built on the XRP ledger, that's a safe place to roll the dice in terms of the wave of resources that are coming into the space. But again, just wanted to share that, so been in the community through the ups and downs. I attended the Ripple proper party in 2023, I want to say, if I'm not mixing my dates up. Got a chance to meet Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz. And sometimes, Akram, you get opportunities that you wish you can have back. You wish you
Correct.
get that
I
opportunity when
agree.
I met Brad Garlinghouse and he asked me, so, what who are you? And in my mind, I'm thinking this guy doesn't really want to know who I am. He's just being polite, right?
Wait,
So I
tell me, yeah, tell us more. Like, what was the experience, man?
Yeah,
Like,
so I'm first of all, I'm in the Manhattan Center. I believe it was
Mhm.
the Manhattan Center in New York City. Um, some ballroom. I forget the name of the ballroom, but Stein something.
Mm.
And Lenny Kravitz is on stage. The drinks are flowing. I don't know if you drink Akram, but I've slowed down. But on this night, I was enjoying myself.
Nah,
And
special occasions.
right. So the open bar, and I guess I'm probably double fisted. That's probably a habit from my army days, right? Just mingling and having a good time. And by the time I get to Brad, they're like, "Hey, Brad's over there." I'm like, "Where's he at? Let's go. Let me go talk with him." I wait in line. Wasn't even that big of a line. He just mixing in with the crowd casually. And I get up there, and I'm like, Brad Garland House, what's up, man? What's up, Brad? And I'm like, F the SEC, F them, you know, and I'm just having a good time, and I can see that he's kind of off put a little bit. He's laughing and joking, and
Uh,
he finally everything calms down, and he goes, who are you? Who are you? And I'm
wow.
like, You know, I didn't think enough to really, tell them who I am. I have a lot to say, right? But at the time, I'm like, not nobody special. But again,
Uh,
maybe it was the alcohol, and I thought I couldn't articulate, exactly, that wasn't the right time. Maybe I thought he wasn't really here to talk business, and he probably
right.
probably wasn't there to talk business. But again, there still was an opportunity to, to let him know who I was and who I am. Who am I? Just a retired Army officer, 20 years in service, right? Tours in Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq. Now working, in the contract space, supporting, I guess the Department of War, and trying to, lend my insights in terms of how to best modernize, I guess things and mindful of blockchain integration. I'm a licensed life insurance agent. Looking to get into real estate, and so everything that XRP is bringing to the table as far as tokenization of real world assets, and definitely something that I'm involved in. I operate a family office headquartered physically in Arlington, Virginia. By the name of GYW 1313, which stands for Give Your Witness 1313. And the 1313 directly relates to XRP and Ripple. Not sure if you're familiar with the term gematria, Akram.
Gematria. Yeah,
You,
gematria.
you know
Yeah, yes.
gematria?
The CAC. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so when they
CAC.
assign a value to a number or value to a word, yeah, and there's different types of gematria, but one of these types of gematria has XRP equating to 13 and Ripple equating to 13 as well. So that's
It's gematria. I found out as well. It's a way where the high value high individuals,
the
or
elites
say elites, if I
communicate
could say, if I can say
behind the
before they
scenes, right?
demonize me.
Not to
But
get into conspiracy theory, right?
yeah, right. That's not the way they communicate
Allegedly.
without, yes, without revealing
Without
anything.
revealing, because
Oh,
every word has a numerical value assigned to it, and then you can look at other words that have the same numerical value, and there's a language that can be established along those lines.
correct. Yeah. One of the famous ones was actually Elon Musk's tweet saying much wow, and then an explanation mark. If you type that into Materia calculator,
Right, right.
yeah, much wow, and they would say XRP.
And you see
XRP.
all the other words that have the same value, right? And,
Yes.
and so, yeah, so that's how
Yeah.
it's done there. Um, very interesting
Mhm.
things, and definitely living a very interesting time. Um, I'm a man who holds a Master of Arts in Theological Studies, and I am a newly, I guess, identified Hebrew Israelite. And so I wear that on my sleeve. And the family office that I operate is that foundation is there. So if anybody is interested in learning a little bit more about what it means to be a Hebrew Israelite and all that entails, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, we'll drop the I guess points of contact information right in the
Yes.
comment section, and there's a school community, right? So it's all about uplifting Yasharel and Yahuwah's Yahuwah's people. I understand, Akram, you are of the Islamic faith,
Yes.
and
Yes.
respect to your beliefs, my brother. And even though we're not of the same faith, right, we can still come together and have a dialogue and talk about something that is significant to the world in this hour. And I don't know if I answered your question,
No.
but let me ask you: Is Ripple have they put out the video for Ripple Swell 2025 already? I know there's probably
Yeah.
snippets, but I'm wondering if
Yes.
they put out the whole video.
Oh no, and it was just basically snippets.
Snippets.
Yeah, snippets, not the whole thing. But it's quite interesting because I want to add this because you said conspiracy theorists, right? Hungry conspiracy theory. Here's the thing. I want to tell this to the audience as well. We've been always labeled as XRP holders a long time ago. That we're conspiracy theorists, right? For a long time. Now you can see that everything that is coming out of our mouths is actually happening, right? So we can touch base on conspiracy theory because everything we've been saying has been proven right. Am I saying? Yeah.
No,
So
absolutely. And it's
yeah,
so interesting. It's so interesting. XRP last year around this time was around what, 40 cents before November. You hovering around 40, 50 cents. And I think it's just a little under $2 currently, but it ran up all the way to, I want to say $3 and maybe 80 cent on an all-time high. So, that was from 30 cent to $3 and 80 cent, or 40 cent to $4. That's a 10x right there, right?
right,
Wow, that's 1,000% increase. So, you know, uh, already, if you were invested, you would have seen returns that, are hard to come by. And we haven't even started, really.
correct,
Haven't even
correct.
started.
Yeah, so I want to lead to this point because there's a lot of talk about this regarding the end of Swift and why ISO 222 matters. So that's one of the topics that we're gonna say. So Lashon, what is your take when it comes to Swift and the Ripple system? Are they gonna coexist, or are we looking at what is your perspective when it comes to that situation, Swift and Ripple?
Great question. Great way to lead the discussion, Akram. And I like how you segue right into the topics there. Smooth. Yeah, Swift, right? Let's define Swift. Swift is uh I guess the mechanism by which money has been moved, controlled by the West. It is in existence, I want to say, stood up around 1948 or so, right? I might have that date off, but after the end of World War II. And it is, it stands for the Society of Worldwide International Funds Transfer. And then again, it's the measure and means by which money is moved internationally, right? The central banks from one central bank to the other central bank, and it's also historically controlled by the Western powers, and it has been used for decades as a weapon in terms of imposing sanctions and limiting, the country's abilities to conduct international trade and move money if they do not fall in line with certain policies. Of the Western nations, primarily the United States. So what we're seeing now is, many countries are looking at trying to find a way to circumvent that system that has, been such a pain in their side. And of course, BRICS comes to mind, right? I know China has a system as well. But this is the thing. I think that all of these systems, Akram, the underlying technology, I have a hunch that it's all XR, it's all XRP ledger based,
Right,
right? That they're giving the appearance that they oppose to each other, or that they're competing against each other, and they may compete against each other, but they're all gonna operate right, collectively, in unison. And so,
okay,
if XRP if the XRP ledger takes up, if it grabs just a little market share, I want to say, let's say 10% of the Swift market share, we're looking at a serious price appreciation and concerning XRP. So I've heard, maybe $10,000, right? If we gain 10% of the market share Swift. So I believe that everybody that's in this space understands that it's only a matter of time before Swift has to pivot, right? If they don't adopt the technology, and it's so large right now
Yeah.
that if they bring in XRP, because they understand that they're not going to be able to compete against XRP, right? Again, if Swift is a system that is controlled by the West, and you got BRICS, and you got the Chinese system, the name escapes me. I know it begins with an M. I don't, Akram, maybe you have that off the top. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
if they don't adopt this technology, then they will become the less desired route to move money internationally. Which that's not going to be good for their I guess their relativity or their relevance. Right? That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because it is actually true. Because if they're gonna be outside of that space, then they're gonna keep dealing with fiat currencies. While we're here in the future, we're like the fiat currencies are on the museum, man. What are you
right.
doing? We're in the
Ain't
cryptocurrencies now.
nobody doing that. Where they do that at anymore, right? Waiting 5 or 7 days, and then the historical low transfer rates, as far as only being successful 95% of the time. They can't compete with a system like the XRP Ledger that has a 99.99% success rate. I'm not sure if they've ever have had a failed transaction related to an error, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Every time Swift conducts a transaction, uh, and it fails, that's an expense that is incurred by those that are involved in the transactions. So I know that the first use case for Ripple as a company was to go ahead and attempt to solve this cross-border remittance issue, meaning the exchange of fiat currency across international borders or national borders, I should say, from one central bank to the other central bank, where the counterparty had to assume risk because the transaction did not execute in real time. And they had to pull from these repositories referred to as Vostro Nostro accounts or Nostro Vostro accounts that have trillions of dollars in them. And that simulated the real time I guess nature of what Ripple has been able to accomplish with the XRP ledger and the systems that support.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you, Lashon. All right, so leading off, we now I want to see what you think about this, Lashon. How would you envision the world we would be living in this type of economy? Blockchain. We're talking about just CBDCs around, and we're just going off of our phones, sending cryptocurrencies to each other. So, what is your vision when it comes to that door, that portal?
You want the unadulterated perspective?
Absolutely,
You want
yes.
my thoughts? Okay, I cannot deny that I bring a theological uh, perspective to the table here, right? And you kind of know where I'm going with this, in terms of the control, buying and not being able to sell, not being able to buy, not being able to sell. The scriptures have a lot to say about this, right? So just in terms of seeing
Correct.
prophecy play out, that is very interesting if you wear that hat, right? If you wear that hat. In terms of everyday life, again, um, will we be able to buy and sell, right? If we do not fall in line with the government. I know Donald Trump, right, number 47, number 45 and 47, he stated that he would not approve a central bank, or he would not be pursuing CBDCs. Do you remember him communicating this?
Yes,
Yeah, and
he
this was
said,
because everybody's saying, "Hey,
yeah,
man, that sounds a lot like the beast system that Scripture talks about," right? So he's, "Hey, we're not going to implement CBDCs." So okay, but when you look at what they are doing, so now we have, I haven't heard too much about CBDCs lately. They've kind of have, and again, I've stepped away from the space a little bit there over the last couple of months, but I've always tried to keep my ear to the pavement. Um, you know, we know the central banks, that's their version of, I guess, cryptocurrency. That's their way of maintaining, I guess, relevance, through the issuance of a central bank digital currency, um, referred to as a CBDC, something that each nation has that allows it to have a say in what is taking place. And again, that element of control and dominance, right, has been a concern related to the banks being able to incorporate and integrate this interledger technology. Um, we, the people, would love to see a decentralized uh, system in place that allows us to trade directly with each other, effectively and essentially cutting out the middleman, which blockchain does a very good job of accomplishing inherently. And it's for that reason that so many industries are going to be revolutionized in terms of being able to go conduct B2B transactions. If we're talking another ISO 222 token XLM, it said that they are the P2P, right? XLM, right? The peer-to-peer arm of this new system, whereas XRP and the ledger is relegated to business. Um, but we'll see if these CBDCs actually materialize. We know every country is going to have a stable coin,
yes,
which
correct,
is essentially the same thing. Could be, right?
right,
Um, because the central banks are operated and owned and represent their respective nations. That's my understanding, Akram.
correct. Correct. See, from my lens, of course, presidents can say whatever they want. I don't give a hell what they say, because sometimes they say something, there's something different happens,
Right,
right? So
right.
again, presidents normally are puppets to the government of what they should say and should not say. They have to follow the agenda regardless what they say. They can tell them to say something so the masses doesn't worry too much about it, to sweep it up, sweep it under the rug. And then when those crashes happen, when those banks shuts down, debit cards don't work, and just money doesn't work anymore. Just everything is on freeze. This is where they're going to issue. They're gonna say like this is the only way out, and it is the CBDCs, right? We've been forcing and been telling that we won't have we would never have CBDC around, but because of what happened to us with this crash happened, we have no way but to pivot, right? But here's the thing. America and a lot of governments, what they would do is destroy what they've built for centuries, the traditional way of money, and then introduce the new world of money, right? Normally, because they do this, is because when those governments uh, trying to introduce those cryptocurrencies, those programmable currencies, right, into the masses they would always pivot to the old traditional way of money, meaning that they won't want to pivot to the new world, which is they like the freedom of not being monetized with their finances, whether they spend it over at Starbucks or uh, you know at Walmart getting groceries. So they want to make sure they want to keep that cash so the money does not be like monitored, right? So if it's now system wise, now people will know. They know that Lashon, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been also seeing people don't like AI. They don't like to use AI. They like the traditional way of life, right? They don't like the
Hey,
idea of AI. Yeah.
Akram, can you hold on for 1 second? I apologize. Give me 1 second, my brother.
Okay.
Thank. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Akram, I'm back. Sorry about that, brother.
No, it's okay. No problem.
Well, yeah, we'll edit
Let me just
that.
resume the recording. All right.
Okay.
I left off where I left off?
We're talking about CBDCs and
CBCs. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, so definitely normally when it comes to this technologies, they always want to uh, make sure the masses move along to the new world. So right now the petrodollar has ended. There's no foundation for the dollar. The only thing that keeps the dollar relevant is weaponizing it. As you see, guys, there's wars around the world. Also, the trust, people's trust in it is also what's keeping the dollar still relevant. Now, the idea here is how to gain this trust that the masses are entrusting in the dollar, because the world currency right now is the dollar. So they want to remove that trust and put it into a tokenized currency. So how to do that? So basically, they have to destroy that fiat currency. Then the fire was lit up, the rising phoenix, right? To the new cryptocurrency, the Ripple XRP, and people won't have nothing to stand for. They will just pivot way to the new world. So that's the way of it is. And of course, when it comes to those monetarization, when it comes to money in a tokenized form, right? Then those banks, those central banks needs to be established, just like we have central banks for fiat currencies. There's the same way in tokenized finance. Once we go to that future, that different way of life. Uh, as you see, of course, when it comes to BlackRock, as we said, being attended at the Ripple Swell, tokenized real estate is one of the big things that BlackRock is looking at, right? Tokenized real estate. So when it comes to them as BlackRock, they are a management asset platform, right? Company. So they just asset management, BlackRock. So in the same way, they gotta manage those real time assets in a tokenized way. So that's kind of like a CBDC for you, for BlackRock. But yeah, it is something that to sometimes envision how the world would look like, but there has to be systems when there's a different way of money and finance coming in to today's world. So there's of course there has to be systems there. Probably not CBDCs, probably something else, but it has to be a central bank to monitor what's coming in, what's coming out. So, absolutely.
yeah, no,
And,
you said a lot. You said a lot, Akram, and um, I guess it's going to be very interesting to see what takes place, whether or not the central banks maintain their relevance.
right,
I think we were all hoping that we can bypass this system and can, but that's the system that's in place, right? So either they're going to pivot, they're going to adopt this technology, right? They're
right,
going to want to control it,
correct.
you
Yes,
know. When the SEC were going through their pardon me, when Ripple was going through their court case with the SEC, I can remember Brad Garlinghouse make and David Schwartz making comments in the press concerning having to make a decision that will affect the rest of the industry, right?
Correct.
Giving up their dream, and maybe that dream was an open market where trade can be conducted without the oversight and overwatch of Big Brother. Um, as opposed to, you know, uh, giving the central banks, some leverage, some participation in this great technology that they have.
Right. Yeah, and that leads me to my next point, of course, which is the role that Ripple's role, the IMF and the central banks in this transition, right? What what we can go off of is what they publish. No, normally what the BIS also publishes on the documents that I've done research on. And also I do have documents. I think I have it on my it's on my channel as well. It's called Agora Project, right? And it goes really deep when it comes to how the tokenized way of life is going to be. Even mentioning how tokenized credit scores can affect, your financial, you know, uh, history. That's what the credit score is. So normally that's it goes down to that and how real real time assets are tokenized, how it is and how can they transact through uh, what they call what is it, whether it's deeds or policies like insurance. So same thing what the real estate industry is doing with tokenizing, insurance industry is going to tokenize regardless what's happening, all in each industry, and that is all going to fall into the central bank trying to monitor what's going coming in, coming out in that shape and form. So definitely. And actually, Lashon, I want to ask you, what do you think when it comes to, because of course not Ripple's only doing the role. There's also Stellar making a role here, right? And other ISO
IBM.
202 tokens. Yeah. But I want to make sure that we clarify a little bit, shed some light on Ripple and Stellar, because those are the big guys here when it comes to that. So, well, what do you think Ripple's role and Stellar's role when it comes to uh, this way of finance?
This new monetary system that we're looking at. There's a picture with Brad Garlinghouse and Stuart Alderati. I believe he's the chief legal advisor for Ripple, and Donald Trump. Right? You probably seen it.
Yeah.
With I think in the community you see people who have taken that photo and they've placed a yellow road and a purple road and different color roads that are supposed to represent uh, things that are taking place in the space. Purple representing XRP, and XRP is king, and so I've heard that Ripple is going to be um, possibly replacing the Federal Reserve or the new Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is not a federal entity at all, but it's a private, organization that makes policy, I guess financially on an international level, that governs the central banks. So, if indeed they are the replacement for the Federal Reserve, there's no words that we can, put together that can express the enormity of this, right? They're a private company right now, but it's believed to be the case that they're going to IPO and go public, right? At some point, which would be more than likely the biggest IPO in the history of the world. Um, they have a saying that Ripple means business, right? And when we're talking in terms of money, all of the money is in view because anything that has any value is thought to, uh, you know, going to be placed on that XRP ledger blockchain. where it can be moved very inexpensively, very securely, large amounts of it. And, so Ripple, they have oversight and management of that ledger. The engineers that designed the ledger, um, some believe that they are the same individuals who created Bitcoin. David Schwartz, we know he has ties to the NSA historically, right? So is this all one big initiative and push, an effort to bring in the new world order and globalism, all right, where the control is in place, right? Is Ripple that company, right? Are they, and again, they may not know what role they play in all this. And I believe that all of this is orchestrated by the man upstairs, right?
Yeah.
That his plan is coming to fruition, and oftentimes individuals, even in I guess Freemasonry, the individuals at the lower levels, they don't understand what they're really doing until they get to certain levels, and then they understand a little bit more, right? So that model is copied off of other known realities and other, known models. So again, Brad Gardner House, if Ripple becomes this company that has a hand in all of the control of the way people spend money and the way they're able to move throughout society. I'm sure the individuals involved in Ripple, they may not have intended, right, for that to be the case. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Right. See,
But
well, when it go because when it comes to a little bit more history here, I want to touch base a little bit of history. Every currency that comes out from any government, from any country, it's always weaponized. Oh, it's always money is a weapon, right? And when it comes to elites facilitating that, their currency in that country, the main thing, especially in America, America normally makes money off of the wars mostly, right? So they're really well in weaponizing the dollar, right? So I won't be surprised they would weaponize, of course, a different currency, which is, digital currency that the government already have out, which is a RUSD, a stable coin issued by the government, right? So there's history, when it comes to history, wars happen, right? And this is what I want to shed some light here before we close off a little bit here. Uh, when it comes to a financial shift, right? We are going to see hardship in everybody's life, right? We humans are normally natural by nature, we're survivors, right? So everything that you see in history, whether a financial shift, a financial switch that happened, always leads to war. Now, I'm not saying we might go to war, we might not. But when it comes to financial shifts, and because when financial shifts happen, countries' power shift. There's countries that have the conflict. Who wants to control the biggest bite of the for tomorrow's economy, right? And that would create conflict with the countries, and that from countries will create wars. Now, when it comes to that, that's why we always consult everybody. We tell everybody when it comes to this type of life, right? History repeats itself, just like the Romans. The Romans. The Romans were the strongest, country in the world, and what goes up must come down. Maybe America's empire will be crushed. We don't know, right? But here's the thing: when it comes to any empire that gets built in history, in life, always sees and watches and looks at its downfall eventually. Now, how we humans can we, like normal humans, can we at least have the control? Because when it comes to what I'm saying, is that's beyond our control, right? So we can focus on what we can control as individuals, as investors here, as XRP Army individually. We can invest, we can stock up on gold and silver, precious metals, food, medicine, weapons, and ammo, right? And I don't want to see you guys putting some precious metals and crypto or and your JP Morgan safe, right? Because what if the bank shut down? You're gonna be knocking on the door, crushing that door, and there's no money in there. So maybe the bank's just stealing
Yeah,
people's money and running
diversify.
away with it. Absolutely.
Diversification,
So
absolutely.
yeah, and that's what it comes down to. And also when it comes to a lot of people, when they make that wealth, they make that profit, they seek a life outside of the US, right? Normally it's because of safety. They know what would be having this type of, wealth and
Affluence.
profit. Yeah,